All right. So, this is the third one that we're doing about the X-Men. The third reaction to Nostalgia Critic. And this is the end of the so-called first trilogy of Fox's X-Men movies. The first one, because there was a plethora of them after that. But this one, I want to say, showed a lot of people who really weren't paying attention, like in the first two, like some of the flaws in both the movies. That like this one really showed that there was a flaw with a lot of these X-Men movies that Fox was putting out. It was more of like they were trying to just put out movies that had successful stories, and not really matter if they had gotten things right or not. And it shows. And I'm gonna say this right now. Even back then, when they did this movie, X-Men: The Last Stand, they still didn't get Phoenix right. They still didn't get Phoenix right. But other than that, I'm probably gonna put, more emphasis into that in the end of the video. But let's just jump into this right now.
This episode brought to you by Stamps.com. Why go to the store to get stamps when you can have them printed right at home for your convenience?
Previously on X Month, 13 years ago.
Billy!
Hey, what's up?
I just saw X-Men 3.
Yeah, how was it?
It was awful!
Really?
They focused a ton on Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like everyone dies.
Dude!
And they even kill off Xavier.
Oh my god, this sounds like the worst movie ever.
It is. I'm gonna hang up now because of how angry I am.
As you should.
Goodbye!
10 years later.
Billy!
Hey, what's up?
I just saw Logan.
Yeah, how was it?
It was awesome!
Really?
They focus a ton on Wolverine.
Yeah?
Like everyone dies.
Dude!
And they even kill off Xavier!
Oh my god, this sounds like the best movie ever!
It is! I'm gonna hang up now because of how happy I am.
As you should. This was worth staying in the same spot and never changing my clothes for a decade.
Goodbye!
There is. And I want to point out that, like, for that instance, because they pointed out that, like, in this movie, people died and whatnot. They killed off Xavier, and in Logan, they, like, everyone was dead and they killed off Xavier. And in Logan itself, it was basically Logan that was enduring Unforgiven. It was basically that's why it fit. That's why it fit, because that happened in an actual comic. That actually happened, where it was the end of like almost the end of the world, and the only mutant that like really survived that was like one of the old school mutants was Logan. That actually did happen, and that's why that fit. But for this did not fit, because that didn't happen. And that shouldn't have happened.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember? So you don't have to. And welcome back to X Month, where now we look at one of the most hated X-Men movies, if not the most hated X-Men movie, X-Men: The Last Stand. With the directing chair now being filled by Brett Ratner, from one non-controversial director to another, X-Men: The Last Stand was less than a critical darling and an absolutely despised addition to the X-Men franchise. Fans hated how many characters died, how unfocused it was, how it seemed to amount to nothing, how it killed President Kennedy, how it caused the Great Depression, and how it directed Norm of the North 2. You couldn't contain the amount of hatred this movie got and still gets today. I kind of have a soft spot for it. Okay, I'm not insane. I know this movie is bad and doesn't work. From a structural standpoint, it's one of the worst sequels ever made, especially when you get to the end. But after how boring and wowless the other two were out of the original three, I kind of consider this one the most entertaining. It has the most risks, the most action, the most color, the most mutants, and the most compelling ideas outside of just...
Prejudice sucks. Oh yeah, we went there.
Sure, its story and characters are weak and the ending doesn't really go anywhere, but I'm kinda used to that in these movies by now. I mean, what's worse, safe, bland, middle-of-the-road tedium, or batshit insanity that never once left you bored? Well, that's the geeky complication we're gonna analyze here today. Let's take a look at the clearly bad, but in my opinion, enjoyably.
Also, I want to apologize if you hear any noise in the background. This is goddamn construction that decided to construct next to my house early in the morning. I swear to God, it's like 9. It's 9:04 that I'm recording this, and now they and like an hour ago they started doing this shit. Why they're digging up a part of the sidewalk on the other side of where I live, I don't know. I swear to God, these construction people in this city, they just want to break apart shit that doesn't need to be break apart, but the stuff that needs to be break apart, they don't touch it. Completely stupid. Anyway, other than that, the main reason why, you know, Doug says that because it has the most action, because that was the thing that Fox always focused on. It focused on, you know, trying to make sure that you were like entertained. It's the same thing with the newer X-Men movies. Like, for as much as I can tell, the only argument that anybody has for these X-Men movies was the fact that the action was good and that everything was colorful and that it popped. That was the only thing that people say about these X-Men movies. It's not about the story, not about like character development, not about how the X-Men, you know, work together, not about how they go through shit. Just mainly the fact that they look cool and they do cool shit. That's it. In other people's minds, that's it. When in turns they have done so many other great things and have been through so many other great ordeals and issues, rather than just them like being them and having them be in cool costumes, having these actors dress up like them, and you having them to do these, you know, the like these scenes that only lasted for like a couple of seconds, and then that was it. Continue.
Be bad. X-Men: The Last Stand. The film opened several years ago with a mostly convincing age restoration of Xavier, played again by Patrick Stewart. Magneto, on the other hand, played again by Ian McKellen, is looking more like a PS4 character.
When are you going to stop lecturing me? When you start listening? You're here because I need you.
Oh yes, the pictures have told us. They go to visit a young Jean Grey, who apparently has unbelievable powers to make people look less like their action figures. Jean's powers seem to be running amok, but Xavier says he can help her control it.
Did you think you were the only one of your kind, young lady?
And I hope never to bring this up or think about it the majority of times we meet. Oh, Jean, by the way, to save all the mutants of the world, it'd be extremely helpful if you could, you know, unleash that most powerful entity in the universe thing. Nothing? Nada? God, this better make more sense when your sons are Stark.
Meanwhile, at a later date, guys, this a timeline or a math problem? We get a pretty grisly scene of a young mutant trying to cut his wings from his back. This kid deserves a freaking Oscar for the less than 1 minute of acting that he's given.
And you.
Dad, I'm sorry.
Wow, I can't wait to see the development they give this character to justify such horrific imagery. How much screen time does he have? Should I get used to things being dramatically built up with no payoff?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. In the not-too-distant future's past, we see Storm, played again by Halle Berry, and Wolverine, played again by Hugh Jackman, training young mutants in a lawsuit battlefield.
The whole world's going to hell, you just going to sit there?
Come on, it's the third one. We're all on autopilot here.
We're getting killed out here.
Oh, you read the reviews. Logan has non-Russian Colossus throw him at the threat, and a sigh of disappointment is given when you realize the upside-down fake Sentinel head is far better looking than the actual Sentinels we would get later.
Class dismissed.
Tell Bumblebee I love him.
They turn off the holodeck, I mean Danger Room, and they're both owned by the same guy. As Rogue, Anna Paquin, is pissed that her boyfriend Iceman is getting too friendly with another mutant named Kitty Pryde, played by Ellen Page.
I mean, something's wrong.
What's wrong is I can't touch my boyfriend without killing him. Other than that, I'm wonderful.
Again, nailing her character great.
Have I ever put any pressure on you?
You're a guy, Bobby. Your mind's only on one thing.
I'm gonna go talk to that Gambit boy. No, wait, that's what the fans would want. We don't do that in these movies. Meanwhile, Cyclops, James Marsden, is having trouble coping with Jean's death from the last movie.
I know how you feel. When Jean died, I said, don't. Maybe it's time for us to move on.
You and I, that one night of passion, it's over now.
And the thing about this that's really stupid, for those of you who don't know, in the original story of when Jean died, both Wolverine and Cyclops left the X-Men to cope with the fact that Jean died. Why are they still there? I don't know. And from what Doug pointed out in the other video about X-Men 2, X2, Rogue is dating Iceman in this when Rogue and freaking Gambit were a thing and have always been a thing. Why Fox decided to put her and Iceman together makes no sense. And another thing I wanted to point out was that Rogue had gloves whenever she touched Gambit. They touched each other. Why they refused to put on the gloves that Iceman apparently had given her in the other movie, I don't know. Because of after she said that, it made no sense. You have gloves. You could touch your boyfriend. So what are you saying? Now you don't want to touch the gloves that apparently your boyfriend gave you that belonged to his grandmother. Continue.
Not everybody heals as fast as you, Logan.
Well, I am pretty awesome. We then cut to Beast. I mean Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Beast. Yeah, they nailed Beast. It's amazing how well they got this character down. From his casting, to his makeup, to his sophistication, to his animal-like fighting, even him reading upside down. Next to Wolverine and Xavier, this is as perfect a realization of a cinematic X-Men can be.
A major pharmaceutical company has developed a mutant antibody, a way to suppress the mutant X gene permanently.
How am I taking him so seriously when that ridiculous amount of makeup is staring back at me? He looks like a Rogaine Smurf, and yet I'm hanging off of his every word. Even the world they inhabit seems a little bit more evolved. As mutants are now being hired into political office, and people focus less on wiping them out as much as helping them out. Though even that's quite a loaded issue as well. Apparently a, quote, cure for mutation has been found, ironically in a mutant, who can take people's powers away if they come near him. They transform this into a drug that can take mutant powers away, and unsurprisingly, this causes a lot of controversy.
I mean, what kind of coward would take it just to fit in?
Is it cowardice to save oneself from persecution?
This is a callback to one of the best X-Men cartoons entitled The Cure, where mutants try to figure out whether or not it's ethical to be free of their powers. Give this movie credit for asking similar difficult questions. Is mutation something to be fixed like bad vision? Or is it a part of your identity and what makes you who you are? Should you change or society change? Mutants have different responses depending on their powers.
Not all of us can.
Well, to point out, the fact that mutants are originally and we're supposed to be the next step in human evolution, it doesn't make sense that they have to change and humans have to stay the same. That doesn't make sense to me. If they're supposed to be the next step in human evolution, then why do they have to change just to fit in with the normal world? That's dumb. That's actually dumb. I'm honestly, I'm just arguing at the fact of that whole point. I know that it's not the movie's fault that to bring that out, because that actually did happen. That did happen in the X-Men story. But to me, it's dumb to say that that like there's a cure for mutants to lose their powers when there's nothing wrong. The only reason why they make something wrong is because humans don't want to fit in with mutants. I mean, humans don't want to fit in with mutants. So they feel as though that mutants have to change, when in fact it's the other way around. Humans have to change.
Fit in so easily. You don't shed on the furniture.
Is it true? They can cure us?
They can give us real accents?
There's nothing to cure. Nothing's wrong with you. Or any of us, for that matter.
I do also give credit that Storm has a bit more character in this than the previous films, though maybe it's just a better wig.
Their affliction is nothing more than a disease. And this site, once the world's most famous prison, will now be the source of freedom.
Yes, I'm sure going to Alcatraz to have people who see you as a disease genetically alter you won't be intimidating at all.
These so-called mutants are people, just like us. But I stand here today to tell you that there's hope.
You know, I want to listen to this guy, but I keep looking around expecting to see one of the Penguin's goons to flip in and steal his baby.
Right.
However, some groups are taking this further as Magneto infiltrates an angry gathering of mutants. By the way, doesn't anyone clean up churches in the not-too-distant future?
Nope.
Make no mistake, my brothers. They will draw first blood. The only question is, who will you stand with? The humans? Or us?
I'll be selling my CDs in the back. I live stream Thursdays.
You talk pretty tough for a guy in a cape.
You know who you're talking to? Do you?
The gritty reboot of Sonic the Hedgehog? Meanwhile, Cyclops returns to where Jean was lost, but discovers she's not quite dead.
No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
There's sadly a lot of truth to that. She shows off to Cyclops how powerful she's become by coming back to life, controlling his laser eyes, and as if that wasn't enough, she blows him up. Oh no, not Cyclops. He was a character. Anyway, I've seen Westworld. I know he'll be right back.
Get to Alkali Lake.
Xavier feels a great disturbance in the X-Force, so he sends Storm and Logan to check it out, and they discover Jean is still alive. But how can that be? Well, that much built-up Phoenix saga is about to pay off, involving aliens and firebirds and several levels of psychological and physical identity.
Her powers wrapped her in a cocoon of telekinetic energy.
Okay.
Jean developed a dual personality that in our sessions came to call itself the Phoenix.
What? What?
There's a woman in front of us, the Jean Grey we know, or the Phoenix furiously struggling to be free.
So, no aliens, no firebirds, only one personality, and all this is happening because of water.
Right.
Yeah, they say Xavier kept it dormant, but they never said what triggered it back to full force, so the only conclusion we can come to is water.
Right.
Just add water, boom, crazy.
Right.
Boy, The Wizard of Oz would have been a different flick if that was the outcome.
I have you now, my pretty.
Oh, no, you don't, you evil witch.
Dorothy, no!
You have unleashed the psychotic part of my mind, making me the most powerful force in the world.
Yeah, Dorothy, what did you think would happen?
Well, I thought she would melt.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard you say.
But
No.
I thought that
No. No.
I'm still here.
So the first person to be given the cure is the creator's son, the boy we saw in the opening named Archangel. In that, the credits call him that, but nobody in the movie ever does.
I can't do this. I promise you. You're fine. Warren, relax.
Oh man, I'm glad he didn't take it. Oh, not for any ethical reasons, it's just the wings are the only way I can tell them apart from Malfoy. And just to be overly dramatic.
What? No!
Doors are for practical people. I'm here to shove a visual metaphor down moviegoers' throats! And maybe that metaphor would have worked if it wasn't used on characters who had less than 5 minutes on screen. Both the person being watched and the person watching are barely in this. Weird how feeling for an image and relating to an image seem to be intertwined.
Right.
I'm sure this will be underwhelming too, as Magneto plans to break out Mystique, who's been captured by law officials. Now, what, is he gonna use his deadly marbles again? Maybe lift a car?
That was the only cool thing. That was the only cool thing. Yeah, that was the only cool thing in the world.
In this movie. He breaks her out, which I kind of enjoy, seeing how she broke him out in the previous film, and, yeah, while in this mutant criminal grocery store, he decides to go shopping.
James Matrix.
He was arrested for being Seth MacFarlane 5 times, when once was already too many.
What do they call you?
Juggernaut.
He was arrested for quoting internet memes.
I'm the Juggernaut!
Yeah, we'll get to it. One of the guards tries shooting the cure at them as Mystique gets hit and transforms into a human. Thus, Magneto abandons her, presumably because she lied about being a real redhead.
It's a shame. She was so beautiful.
Now, on the one hand, I kinda like this. It emphasizes how deep his prejudice goes, and like most oxymoron bigots, he's consistent in how hypocritical he is. But there is one huge problem with this. The situation should go more like,
Oh, dear. Well, I better take you to my machine that turns people into mutants. I know it had a few problems, but with me being a scientist and there being great breakthroughs in DNA transformation, I can totally work with this. Oh, wait, I guess that's off the table now. Okay, laters.
I'm sorry, my dear. You're not one of us anymore.
I mean, the fact that she grew up as Xavier's sister was totally fine, but... yeah, that still doesn't connect to anything.
No, that's stupid. Stupid.
He's outraged that the cure has been weaponized without his knowledge, thus he tells the president he's resigning. Someone fired or resigning from the president's cabinet? Man, that's rare these days.
Have you even begun to think what a slippery slope you're on?
I have. And I worry about how democracy survives when one man can move cities with his mind.
As do I.
You and I know that it's only going to get worse.
All the more reason why I need to be where I belong.
Wow. Both of them are asking very tough, polarizing questions. Kinda makes you wonder what you would do if you were put in a similar scenario. No, I mean, it sucks! Every part of this sucks! It's Transformers 12! Meanwhile, the supposed most dangerous mutant in the world wakes up, with just Wolverine as security. You know, it's becoming easier and easier to believe that the apocalypse happened 4 times in these movies.
Yep!
One of them is called that! And it appears she's not in control.
Look at you, Logan. He's tamed you.
Gene?
There is no Gene, only Phoenix.
That remarkable metal doesn't run through your entire body, does it? But 50 Shades of Jean Grey will have to wait as she busts out and goes to her parents, despite her parents never showing up in the rest of the movie. It's not the first time in these films someone abandons what's supposed to be the most important.
What the hell are you doing here?
Visiting an old friend.
Magneto and his goons are there as well, as Xavier and him agree to approach her alone.
I came to bring Jean home. Don't interfere, Eric. Just like old times, huh? She needs help.
Okay. This visual needs sitcom music.
One's a peaceful professor, the other a genocidal extremist. Together, they have to convince a woman not to blow up the world because everyone thinks the Dark Phoenix is the only part of the Phoenix there was. Can they stop her insanity while having a little fun along the way? Fox presents.
And that's the thing that's so stupid about this, and I've been trying to hold it together. But in both of these movies, X-Men: The Last Stand and The Dark Phoenix, which just came out, they keep making this iteration that as soon as Jean becomes the Phoenix, she automatically kills people. Dumbasses, no. That is not how that works. Jean... First of all, Jean would never want to kill Cyclops. She never wanted to kill Xavier. She never wanted to kill anybody. She would never want to go on a rampage and just start destroying everything. The purpose of how Jean became the Phoenix was that after she almost died, her powers arose the moment she got exposed to the Phoenix in outer space. She she helped everyone to survive when they were launched in this little space shuttle. While they were in space, she carried it all the way down to Earth, crashed it, almost died, and arose as a phoenix because she absorbed the phoenix force that was out in the ether that came to her. It was never her that, oh, she suddenly had this power that was locked inside her, and she called herself the Phoenix as like this persona. No, that is not how that works. She became the Phoenix because of the Phoenix Force, not because of another personality she had. And the thing about her personality, me and Daniel talked about this in one of our videos about the Phoenix, was that the fact that the Phoenix Force represents all life around the universe as a whole. It represents all life, whether it be good or evil, animalistic, plant life, or whatever. It represents all life. What happens? Let me ask the question for you guys. What happens when all those emotions of all the representations of life bolt up into one person? What happens to that person? They lose control. They go nuts. They feel as though they can't control it. It's like a huge amount of energy flows into their body, and it's like a power surge, and they can't seem to contain it. It's not a matter of I can't control it. I can't control it, and then all of a sudden kills people. No. When Jean became the Phoenix, and as soon as she became that, and certain stuff had started happening, it was doing something to her to her psyche. It was affecting her emotions, and because of the fact that she was already absorbing other lives' emotions, of the lives of other people's emotions, other beings' emotions, she lost control. And then became the Dark Phoenix in a fit of rage after somebody, I forget, somebody either died or something happened. But Jean stayed like a normal Phoenix and was with Cyclops and the rest of the X-Men the whole time, and the X-Men was there defending her after another alien race was trying to kill her because of the fact that she became the Phoenix, because of the fact that she absorbed the Phoenix Force. Not this shit. I'm sorry for rambling on. Continue.
Jean-Luc and Gandalf. Some wacky wit from wacky Brits.
They do a good job making Jean pretty intimidating and downright creepy at times. But for going back to her childhood home, there's no exploring her past, her psychology, what led her to this mental state. She just starts tossing shit. Yeah, it's not like the Phoenix had any mental play whatsoever. That's it. Even the fight, despite it being impressively choreographed, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Magneto says,
nobody gets.
And the dumb thing about all this is, Juggernaut is Xavier's stepbrother. Juggernaut is Xavier's stepbrother. And in this scene, neither Juggernaut nor Xavier talk to each other. There was never a scene where Juggernaut and Juggernaut just said and just rebuttals back with something like, you don't know me, you don't know me anymore, you're nothing to me, you're dead to me. I would have accepted that, but no, there's nothing. So that means they just put in the Juggernaut character, but put a guy in a suit, put him made him to be the Juggernaut, and just made him stand there. Without any context, without any sort of background as to why him and Xavier know each other.
well, obviously the first thing to do then is throw him inside. Though let's be honest, that was only done for this stunt. Which makes no sense, but I still friggin' love. As Jean takes house flipping a little too seriously, Xavier gives Logan one final look before being turned into powdered X-Lax. That's the look of a guy saying, you're going to be changing me in the near future. X-Man, Xavier, is extinct as Magneto steals Jean away, and the X-Men realize they have to carry on not only without their leader Cyclops, but without their mentor Xavier as well. Gee, I've never seen that done in these movies before.
We must carry on his vision of a world united.
This hits our X-Men pretty hard, especially... Oh, which one was Juno again?
Kitty.
Oh yeah, Kitty Pryde. It has been over 40 minutes since we've given her or Iceman a scene, so... Yeah, there's nothing to help get over the death of your mentor like flirting with someone you barely know while your current girlfriend watches. What an X-hole!
Where are you going?
You don't know what it's like to be afraid of your powers.
Hello?
I want to be able to touch people, Logan.
I hope you're not doing this for some boy.
No, it's for some boy. Oh yeah, that's totally what I'm doing.
Look, if you want to go, then go. Just be sure it's what you want.
Well, I don't know if it's what I want. I haven't asked Bobby yet.
This is fucking hurting me.
你觉得在哪里更好？中国还是美国？
不一样。
So remember how Jean, even though she wasn't really developed, I mean, okay, we're used to that in these movies, but she was at least a little creepy? We'll throw that out the window, as for the majority of the rest of the movie, she does nothing but give one blank stare. Again, something we've sadly become familiar with in these films.
God!
We made our choice. Now it's time we make ours. So if you're with us, then be with us.
Again, give credit that at least Storm has a bit more character, taking a little bit more charge, and this maybe kind of ties into fans that believe she should have been the leader of the X-Men instead of Cyclops. But every time Jean is even close to being more developed, they always push away. In some cases, literally, like when Wolverine tries to track her down.
I came for Jean. Do you think I'm keeping her against her will?
Sorry, we're paying her by the line in this one. You should have seen the deal we got with Cyclops.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
I know full well.
I'm gonna make you do stupid things. Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself! Quit hitting yourself! Now go.
Look out! You run into Ash from Evil Dead 2! The SWAT team finds Magneto's army, but it turns out it was just multiple men as a diversion.
Okay. I give up.
Now I'm gonna be sent back to jail and have my powers taken away. Why'd I agree to this? Magneto is actually throwing a mutant pride parade as he plans to get his army to Alcatraz via... the holy shit amazing scene.
The only thing I'm telling you, the one thing that was good in this movie. I'm telling you, the two things that was good in this movie was the fact that they got Beast right, and the fact that Magneto's powers showed in this, his actual powers. Other than that, Jean is a fucking board, and Storm is just not Storm. It's just not. It's just Halle Berry in a fucking wig. And yes, even though, yeah, I think Halle Berry is fine to that extent, but no. Even in this, she was like Storm was horrible. Even in this, they've never gotten Storm right. I swear to God, it pisses me off.
Jesus Christ, that's not X-Men at all. No, not at all. You never see that in a comic. It's not imaginative, not big or epic or anything like that. It's lazy. It's stupid. It's incompetent. It's... God, that still holds up. Though it is funny how it goes from dusk to complete night in a matter of a few seconds.
Right.
And I do mean a few
seconds.
Actually, that reminds me. Hey, didn't we have a scene to shoot at dusk today?
Yeah, but sunset starts at 5 and it's 5 o'clock right now.
But that should give us plenty of time to shoot.
No, it's actually 5:01 now. We just missed it.
Curses! How did this happen?
climate change.
How's that affect the sunset?
I don't know. It's just always climate change.
Things are always so strange when you two are around.
That's weird, because things get a lot more normal when you aren't around.
Magneto's army plans to kill the boy supplying the cure, but they have a lot of obstacles to get through.
In chess, the pawns go first.
I call them the test audience.
But the X-Men show up to stop them, and the, not the least bit kick-ass climax begins. Just trying to find something awesome in this movie. Like Juggernaut and Kitty Pryde chasing each other through concrete walls. Pedestrian. Setting projectile cars on fire. Boring. Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Launching into the air, roaring and ripping people to shreds. Have you even read an X-Men comic? Where's Xavier showing a girl around Cerebro for hours? That's the kind of excitement that ignites the imagination. Oh, don't worry though. There's still plenty of stupid to go around. Like this line that launched a million groans.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Yeah, if you want to know what every X-Men fan's reaction was to this internet meme suddenly making it into a big blockbuster movie, it went exactly like this.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Then there's this scene where the mutants try to kill the scientist in charge.
You're the guy that invented the cure, right?
Yep, that's her.
Please, don't do this. I only want to help you people.
Do we look like we need your help?
All we need is a script doctor. Yay, that kid who had less screen time than the catering credit got to save his dad. Because that's what it's all about. Wolverine even manages to learn how to work with the X-Men as a team.
We work as a team.
Best defense is a good offense.
Because that's what it's all about. Also gotta love how Beast resigns because they weaponize the cure, and he uses the weaponized cure to inject Magneto.
You and I know that it's only going to get worse.
All the more reason why I need to be where I belong.
In the hypocritical gray zone jacuzzi that this film is keeping me nice and warm in.
No! She decides once again to go berserk though as she begins wiping out everybody on the island.
What have I done?
Is it me or does it look like he's asking the audience that upon finishing the film?
What have I done?
Oh God, this hurts. Jean would never want to kill people.
I wonder if this is Thanos' porn. Like he just stays up late at night like...
Oh yeah, turn him to dust, you sexy thing. Turn him to dust. God, I'm lonely.
It looks like Wolverine is the only one who can approach her due to his fast healing. I guess that kind of looks like a Firebird, even though you promised us an actual Firebird.
And she
but
would
I guess
never
that's
be
a
that
symbolic
quiet!
Firebird. Look, I know you want to see me naked, but can I go one of these movies with my body mostly covered? I'm tired of people seeing my huge acmen! He gets her back to her normal self just so he can kill her. Yep, she came back and went crazy just so she could die again. Yeah, that's actually all they do with her. Man creates Jean. Man destroys Jean. Man recreates Jean. Man destroys Jean. Man, this movie's bullshit. And the ending only gets worse from here. We see Kitty Pryde at Xavier's grave. Because clearly no other character had a stronger connection with him. As these movies have now gone full force into making Rogue barely recognizable to 100% unrecognizable as she had her powers taken away.
This isn't what I wanted.
The dumbest shit in the world.
Aw, so she did it for herself. Now let's reconnect with the boy who was about to cheat on you because he couldn't touch you and remind yourself that it had nothing to do with him. 'Cause that's what this is all about. Hey look, Wolverine is proud that Beast is back in the White House, putting their two-sentence rivalry behind them.
Way to go, Furball.
Because that's what this was all about! Logan tries to figure out if he owns the school or what. Nothing else is discovered about his past despite the other films talking about it. I mean, poorly, but they did talk about it. And we see Magneto's powers are coming back, proving the cure pointless. Xavier comes back to life, proving his death pointless. But that Archangel kid is still flying around in the background for a millisecond. Thus, that's what this was all about. I have no idea what this movie was about.
Exactly.
For a film called The Last Stand, it doesn't stand by jack shit. This movie raises the stakes, raises the body count, raises the issues and questions, and yet never follows all the way through, so it ends up saying nothing. Want proof? There's an alternate ending where Rogue doesn't get the cure, proving even they had no idea what they were trying to say.
I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, Bobby. This is me.
The whole movie just feels like a lot of big scenes that never connect or build up to anything. And when you have a movie that makes a lot of huge choices resulting in a lot of huge deaths, it has to amount to something. You can't back down on that. With that said, there are still a lot of amazing scenes to appreciate. Some great action, great effects, great makeup, great ideas, and yes, even some great character moments.
But that's the no. See, that is the only thing that is about this movie that they got right. It was only two individuals, Magneto and Beast. But then at the end of all of it, they throw it away. They throw the whole idea away. All of that build-up that Beast had in this movie, all that so-called kind of development that Magneto had, just got tossed aside. For absolutely no reason. And the ending made no sense. A cure that wasn't even a cure. Rogue taking the doggone cure and not using the damn gloves that her boyfriend gave her so that she could touch him. Cyclops dying when he should have just walked away. Jean dying by Logan killing her. Storm being not Storm. And don't get me started on Archangel. That his whole purpose for him being here was pointless. Because the only reason why he even existed in this film was to just save his fucking father. And Juggernaut, not even being Juggernaut. The Juggernaut that we never even wanted. The Juggernaut that's not even related to Xavier. Legally. Because they weren't by blood. It was by legal. They were stepbrothers. This whole fucking movie was a fucking train wreck. And I know, Ryo, it's just a movie. It doesn't mean anything. It's not any harm. That's not the point. Okay? The point is that I love X-Men. I've loved the X-Men for so long. I've loved them since I started watching the series. I loved them since I started reading the comics. I loved X-Men. I love X-Men. So how would you feel if a movie adaptation does that to the thing that you enjoy? Same thing for people who love DBZ so goddamn much. And then they did a movie adaptation for it and it was bullshit and they went apeshit over it. Same thing. So excuse me if I'm taking stuff like this seriously. Because and I'm going to bring this up in another video with me and Daniel. I love comic book heroes. I look to comic book heroes as a cope to deal with the dumb shit that's going on out here. I love heroes. I love comic book heroes. I love Marvel heroes. I love Batman, but mainly Batman. I love heroes. The fact that they go through shit and still rise up to the occasion. But this did not represent that. This was a mess. And all this movie had to show a few action scenes and 2 characters that they got right that they scrapped at the end of all this.
All of these scenes on their own would be fine. Maybe that's why a lot of them have so many hits on YouTube. Because individually, they're really impressive and deserve more credit when people just scoff that there's nothing good in this film. But it's the equivalent of having all your favorite food on one plate. Alone, they're great. Altogether, it's a giant mess. So yes, in comparison to the other films that, while slow and uneventful, did have a beginning, middle, and end, this tosses all of that away for some big scenes that practically destroy what the other films were trying to do. In that respect, it's one of the worst sequels ever made because it disappointed fans who really got into these movies. But for me, I never got that much into these movies. I thought they were okay at best.
And that's fine.
I watched them because I liked X-Men, but these films never really represented X-Men. At least not the X-Men I was familiar with. They were dull, colorless, restrictive, middle-of-the-road adventures from a franchise that was the exact opposite of that. This one at least was big, loud, fun, energetic, imaginative, visually stunning, action-packed, and had good dilemmas, despite them never following all the way through with it. So while it is technically bad when I think of the bombastic, cool, adrenaline-filled X-Men fighting against varying types of prejudice, this is the one that gives me a more enjoyable time. So it's picking your poison. The safer, blander, but ultimately better put together films, or the over-the-top hyper punch fest that constantly insults your intelligence. Whatever you choose, one thing's for sure, for some this is an enjoyably bad movie, but it is still a bad movie. Well, that about does it for X Month, and next week I have a brand new movie to review.
Aren't you forgetting something?
No, I'm not! There never will be another X-Men movie! There never has been another X-Men movie! A box on you!
Wow, he has really repressed X-Men Origins Wolverine, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's why I put a copy of it under his desk to remind him he needs to review it.
Oh, how do you know how to find it?
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Well, with that being said, and what from me ranting about that, goddamn, this has been 48, about to be 50 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna continue with more of these X-Men reviews that Doug has done. So in the next one, it will be Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. It will be that in the next one. Until then, this has been Master Ryo Sakurai, and I love y'all. I'm getting up out of here. I'm completely drained from this movie. I'm sorry. I'm out of here. Peace.